for being with us on the Registered Apprenticeship panel featuring our apprentices currently working through programs. My name is Mason Sullivan. I'm a lead employment specialist with the South Dakota Department of Labor and Regulation. Leading our discussion today will be Aubrey Kaiser. She's also a lead employment specialist. She's out of the Spearfish office. Aubrey?
Thank you so much, Mason. We're very excited and grateful that you could all join us today as we celebrate National Apprenticeship Week in South Dakota. This is a time we can celebrate the importance of apprenticeships and highlight how apprenticeships can create a highly skilled and diverse workforce. This is the 85th year of National Apprenticeship Week in the United States, and we have lots of reasons to celebrate that. Here in South Dakota, our apprenticeship office is very young in comparison, but no less passionate about this model or the people that it can benefit. So today we're really excited to welcome our panel of apprentices that have participated in one of the many apprenticeship programs in South Dakota. Often when discussions happen about how to upskill someone in the workplace, it is centered around going to college or university, and sometimes that just isn't the best option for someone for a variety of reasons. Apprenticeship offers another path to earn while you learn. Our panelists today are some of the first line of individuals to take the option in South Dakota and participate in one of these registered programs. These programs provide high quality, industry-focused training that combines the classroom aspect and on-the-job learning, leading to a federally recognized credential in their field. Whether they have completed the program or are still participating, each of our panelists has shown a real drive in their industry and a thirst for knowledge. Today, we'll be talking to them a little bit about their experiences and the programs that they participated in specifically. With us today, we have Harrison Bossler with Howe Inc. out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Melissa Heath with Independent Health Systems in Huron, South Dakota, and Riley Christopher with Huron Regional Medical Center, also in Huron, South Dakota. Melissa, what about you? Why did you decide to go for the apprenticeship route to get into nursing versus going back to school?
Well, I already was about $30,000 in debt for school. and
Yep.
I actually had talked to Ashley about going back to school. I started my degree in medical administration, and I just knew physically that my body wouldn't hold up, being a CNA for that long. And I wanted to keep doing that kind of work. And she was like, no, wait. There's this apprenticeship stuff. And then she's the one that initiated all of it and brought it to my attention. I was like, well, yeah, no more money out of my pocket. And yeah, I get to keep doing what I love. So
yes, we hear that quite often, the not wanting to go into debt or into further debt. Student loans can take up a large part of your life once you go down that route, and that's not always the best option for everybody. So having something else that you can utilize to learn the same occupation is really an incredible opportunity for a lot of people. Riley, what about you? You kind of have seen both sides of that fence. You've gone to school and now you've seen the apprenticeship side of that. What really made you choose the apprenticeship side versus maybe going back to school for Surg Tech?
That's a tough one. I mean, going to school gets me certified in a higher pay rate, and I don't get paid for that. But, doing this apprenticeship, I get paid and learning what I get to do. So, just starting out, it's really helpful, and being shown the ropes, it's been really good.
For a broke college student, right?
Yep.
Said that earlier. Really great option if you're in that population.
Yep.
So Riley, what was that process like for you? You kind of talked a little bit about it, about how you had talked to the administration and how that kind of looked. What was the process like for you getting involved in the apprenticeship program?
So I met with my supervisor and Brooke, and they were like, here's this pamphlet, you should look it over, and this great program where you get paid and you don't really have to do anything. You just, turn in your hours. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. More money, the better. And then from there, I filled out like a questionnaire, and then some paperwork online. And then I met with the Department of Labor in Huron, and it just kind of took off from there. I think it was a rather simple process, but I hear that some people had more trouble with it. But
well, we like to hear that it's simple, of course. Melissa, you touched on it a little bit about your conversations with Ashley and what that your supervisor Ashley and what that kind of looked like for you. But once you decided to go into it, what did that process look like for you?
I think the process was probably a little different for me than it was, for other people, because Ashley from the beginning planned on me doing the mentor. So I got to see all the ins, you know what I mean, all the parts of it. She took me with to the meetings for the rapids and all that stuff. And it was overwhelming, at first, like trying to build the appendix and all the things that go into it. But it was also exciting. You know what I mean? Because every time we went or every time we met with you guys, we learned one more thing. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things out there that even beyond the apprenticeship program that you don't realize are there to help,
Yes, we're always here to help, and we definitely love providing that help. But you actually brought up a really great point too about apprenticeships and how that registration process looks, and that you don't have to wait to utilize your program. You were being trained and going through those training hours while you were building the program, and that's totally allowable. That's one of the best parts of the flexibility of a registered apprenticeship program, is that you can be trained and you can be going through learning all of that process while you're building it. And it sounds like your participation in that building process really helped to become that mentor for the next apprentice, because you kind of got to watch how that structure really came together. Is that
when Riley was saying how just what she said, it was so different from my experience. I'm like, wow, that's how you answered some questions and you did what, but I mean, it was all good, but you know what I mean? It wasn't nearly that short and sweet for me, but I enjoyed it. So
Harrison, we're seeing kind of a common theme of the supervisors really reaching out and recruiting their people to go through the programs. Is that kind of what the process was like for you as well? You got to go through it with your current employer?
Yep. One of my operation managers pulled me aside and offered me a couple opportunities, and I kind of liked what I was hearing. And I kind of took a hold of it. And I remember hearing a lot of it when I through some of my instructors and teachers in the past, prior from past schooling, and there was a lot of opportunities that were there. And yeah, he mostly approached me about the subject, and it just seemed like a great opportunity to keep learning and keep advancing myself along my career path.
And that learning piece is major. Learning from the people that do the job on the job all the time. That's something that can be lacking when you're going and sitting in a classroom,
Yep.
Making that connection between the task that you're learning and how you can do that on the job. It's a little different when you're learning it from a textbook. So actually, Harrison, I'm going to jump right back to you. And what was that? How has that helped your learning process going through an apprenticeship program? You said you like to do that on the job learning a little bit already. That was kind of how you were in your personality. So how has going through the apprenticeship program really helped that learning process for you?
Basically let me understand a lot more of the fundamentals and how everything works and how everything operates also, especially with the mechatronics side and the plumbing side also, that you kind of see more of what's going on rather than just simplistic, here's this and here's that. More or less, if you get to know the full details and what you were doing wrong previously, but now you're doing right now.
Yeah, it really helps build those problem solving skills, because you're seeing the problem in real time and have to come up with a solution right there.
Yep.
Definitely. Melissa, what about you? How's that learning process been for you?
I do better hands-on, without a doubt. I don't have the patience to sit still. I mean, if you see, I'm kind of rocking in my chair now. So sitting in a classroom and then, picking up a book and things like that aren't for me. To be out there and be hands-on is my way of learning. And it's also my way of teaching. You get more out of that than you do reading a book. Anybody can read a book.
And do you feel like being taught on the job as the apprentice helped your ability to mentor and teach that way on the other side of it as well?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's, like I said, I've done this work my whole life. And so it's easy for me to do it, but then I have to come at it from a different aspect to then show somebody else how to do the job. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
you can do job, but to teach it back to somebody is completely different.
Yes, that absolutely makes sense. Because oftentimes the people that maybe do the job best don't necessarily teach the job best. Those are two separate skills. But if you go through the apprenticeship program and the apprentice aspect and you're being taught that way on the job, probably makes it quite a bit easier to turn around and be able to mentor people because you have that experience from being taught that way. And I'm sure that your apprentices really appreciate what you are bringing to the table and what your past knowledge you're passing on to them. Riley, what about you? Has the apprenticeship learning process been really different for you? Has it been challenging for you?
With me going to school, I mean, you learn like in a classroom, but like doing it outside of the classroom is so different. So it's made me more comfortable in my skill. It's made me more knowledgeable. It's like opening my horizons with like different names of instruments. I mean, it's been a really good experience, and it's just helped so much.
Has it really affected maybe your confidence level of doing some of these tasks, learning them right there in the moment versus learning them from a textbook and trying to apply it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if it's like worded one way in the textbook and then that's the only way you learned it, but then like out in the real world, learning from someone else or like, oh no, you can do it this way and this way, and it's same outcome. It's just an easier way to do it. So my confidence level from the classroom to now, it's upped it immensely.
That's amazing. And we love hearing that people are more confident in their occupation, they're more involved and engaged in their workplace, and going through an apprenticeship program has really not just boosted their skill level, but their ability to really engage with what they're doing. So, Melissa, I'm going to jump over to you because I think that your answer to this question is going to be very unique compared to the other apprentices that we have on the panel. And what challenges really have you seen both in going through the program as an apprentice and now turning around and mentoring those apprentices? What challenges do you really see there?
For me in the beginning, we had like oh my gosh, what was it? It was a program that was part of the apprenticeship, like the When I Work or something. I can't remember what it was called, but we could never match up time to do it. So like some of the, some of the prerequisites or the educational things. So then I believe we kind of, with the new ones that we're writing, we're not having that in there because it was really hard to get a hold of them. Otherwise, I mean, some barriers are sometimes trying to keep up with the things that, like the one gal I have right now, she's doing her GED. And so it's kind of hard to keep up with her, for her to be able to keep up with both, so I've got to make it a point to get with her and say, hey, where are you at on this? Because while you are working and learning, working takes up a lot of your day. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot of time, in between there for the quote unquote, classroom or, one-on-one time other than when you're out there doing it.
Yeah. Yes, balancing those two things can be a real challenge on both sides, both for the apprentice and for the sponsors and the employers that are needing to deliver both of those aspects. And right. I feel like part of that too is some of the shortages that we see with there's not necessarily not enough time in the day, but not enough people to fill the hours in the day. Right. So an apprenticeship hopefully can be a model to fill those gaps. Once you have people trained and going through the program, they can turn around just like you and start training the next apprentices. So you're sort of building that workforce up from within versus having to wait for someone to get those credentials or go through school. Have you seen that? Has that kind of helped with those challenges?
Yeah. I mean, the first girl that we tried to put through, that didn't work out. It was kind of an age barrier, I think. So it wasn't what she expected, at 16 years old going into people's homes. And she was like, oh my goodness, but the one that we have now, she does really well. Like she's here for the long run. She's already gone through most of the competencies and things. She's the evening shift, which is sometimes what makes it harder for me to, to get with her too, is we only have one person during the evening. But and it's just her. So when she's got to work 40 hours a week, then but then I just go out in the evening time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Trying to match up those hours can be a struggle.
Yep. My kids are big enough now that it's okay that I can, leave them at home with the oldest and they'll be all right.
Good. Good. Because childcare is another issue that we see, right?
Yeah, not me. My daughter babysits for everybody. I'm like, you need a babysitter? Yep, you can come to work now.
Harrison, what about you? What challenges have you seen kind of going through your program?
Trying to get people to actually want to go to the program and trying to get their eyes open to it. Trying not to kind of face away from it. They just kind of see some aspects in some of the trades. Just nowadays, you don't hardly see many people wanting to go into it, and just trying to get people to branch towards it, maybe be open to it. That's just about the only struggle we see. And then usually for the long run, if they're willing to and be wanting that hands-on aspect and willing to push the knowledge for it, we usually see a good outcome. But it's just trying to get people to push for it. That's
I would
the only struggle
agree
we see.
with that.
Yeah, I think all of you are kind of in an industry that either is kind of has that blue collar job reputation, or is seen as being really, really tough and really challenging and hard on your physical and your mental health. So there's that added layer of challenges for all of you, really, to not just have people coming into the apprenticeship, but also having people coming into those industries. And apprenticeship hopefully can help bridge those gaps too, because I think Riley touched on it a little bit too, that it gives you that flexibility to really test the waters and see, is this where I want to go? Is this really what I want to do? Or narrow it down really. Riley kind of wanted to go into the medical field and really narrowed it down to surge tech, it sounds like. Would you agree with some of those challenges, Riley, or are you seeing different challenges with your program?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, I went back and I tell everyone about it and they're like, oh, really? I didn't know that was a thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, come do it, please. Yeah, and then another thing, this just might be related to me, is that I learned, certain things one way, and then having doctors come in and being like, nope, it's called something else, and this is how we're going to do it. So, that's been another thing, but, you just got to be open and go with the flow.
Great outlook on life right there in general. I think just being open and going with the flow will get you pretty far regardless of where you're at, I think. I'm going to switch to the other side now, and I want to really talk about some of the successes maybe you guys have gone through. Harrison, what successes have you seen going through your two programs that you have now gone through?
I've done pretty well for myself and doing all right. That's my third year with How now, and they just seem to. I just like being here. Right now, last year, I got my own service van, but doing all right. They keep moving me up, try to keep pushing me forward. I actually just got done with the event this month or so ago. I represented South Dakota nationally for HVAC. Well, not plumbing or mechatronics, a little bit of mechatronics, but I got second in the nation, so I was pretty good in North Carolina. Otherwise, I've been doing pretty good and just staying busy a lot.
Well, congratulations. That's an amazing achievement. Not that I want to say apprenticeship to credit for that, but congratulations.
But you can.
Riley, I could. Riley, what successes have you seen with going through your program?
Just my confidence in the operating room has been a really big success. Being more confident in myself and in my skill. So I count that as my biggest. Yeah.
I think that's a huge win. Something that maybe people struggle with, especially in the workplace these days. So if apprenticeship is able to kind of give you that boost that you need to engage in the workplace, that's a wonderful success.
Yep.
Melissa, what about you?
I started as a home health aide and home health aide mentor, and now I home health aide coordinator. kind of keep everybody in line around here. And that's definitely my leadership skills, you know, are really what, like I said, I'm used to doing things, you know what I mean? And just here, stand back and watch me. And I really had to hone in on those things to be able to be a mentor, a leader, and all those things. And I probably couldn't have done that if I didn't have someone show me.
So apprenticeship didn't just train you in how to do the occupation, it trained you in really how to lead in that field.
Yeah, that was,
That's
and it was
amazing.
hard. I'm definitely just stand back and watch me, you know, and it doesn't work that way. So
that's amazing. And I really feel like those two, that confidence and that leadership, those two kind of go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. And it sounds like Harrison's winning awards, so he's got both of those just fine. So I'm actually going to come back to you, Harrison, because I think you touched on this a little bit earlier on some of those misconceptions about apprenticeship and about the trades. What do you think some of those are, and how do you think that we can really communicate more effectively to change some of those misconceptions?
It's just more or less of trying to get people open to it and know that plumbing or certain aspects aren't always tied to one certain obligation of, oh yeah, there's that crappy situation, and you're not always going to have to deal with something that you're not going to do on a daily basis. There's always plenty of opportunities within certain fields, and I always feel like you need to look at the big picture and what you truly want to get involved with and what you like to do on the daily basis, and not wear yourself down, but yet something you love doing on the day to day, and trying to help the customer or whoever might be your company, or helping training the next apprentice as you're another apprentice. You're trying to learn also, but you're also training another one also, but also just trying to keep gauging yourself. And like the biggest aspect I always see is just trying to get people, at least in my area that I've seen, is you see a lot of kids coming out of high school, or like me, I had a good background, but a lot of kids just coming out of the city, just trying to get them exposed to it and show them that not some things you just have to be tied down to, that there's always a lot more opportunities.
Right, because plumbing isn't just plumbing, right? There's different aspects to it. There's new construction, there's service, there's, you know, there's home, there's, you know, residential, there's commercial, there's a whole lot of different options just within that one industry. So it's not just one thing. Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Melissa, you have a very diverse background, even just in healthcare with different occupations. So would you kind of share that thought on getting people to understand that there's a lot of different layers to this? Is that a misconception that you really see? And how do you feel that we can maybe communicate those things more effectively?
I don't think that it's so much as you guys communicate more. There's not a lot of turnover for us. You know what I mean? So like a lot of what we do is based off of our clients. So, you know, for 4 months out of the year, we might be heavy staffed, you know what I mean? And then we don't really have room to bring on anybody else. And then we might be more clients than staff. So, I mean, usually when I bring people on, if I feel like they want to go through the program, like with Gabby, I right away was like, hey, you know, and I actually have another one of the gals that wants to do it. But I can't remember if ours is a 1-to-1 ratio, or if it's 1-to-2. So then sometimes, like, because I'm out, whenever we bring on any new staff, I train them anyway. So it'd be nice if I could do more than one at a time, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Because I end up time, but
yeah, you spend the time anyway, right? So you might as well be using that productively.
right.
And having that 1-to-1 ratio sometimes can be a challenge too.
Right.
But I know that you have seen that be really effective when you're training, and when you were being trained, and how that can really make those apprentices retain more and feel invested in when they're going through these programs. Riley, you wanted to go into the medical field, you didn't necessarily know it was going to be this search tech program. So very similar, I think, to Harrison in that, it kind of helps you narrow it down what specific occupation you wanted to go into. Do you think that that's a pretty common misconception when talking about apprenticeships, and how do you think that we can get the word out a little bit better about that?
Yeah. So when I first was like looking around, I had no idea surgical technology was even an option. So like getting out there and having these options before me, you had to go and do like your research and be like, oh, that sounds cool, and then you're going into it. So I think just spreading the word of more careers out there and like the different options you have. So yeah.
I'm going to jump into some really happy questions now. These are my favorite questions to ask apprentices. And I'm going to start right back with you, Riley. What is your favorite part of apprenticeship in general, or your program specifically? What's your favorite?
I like getting paid. I mean, other than that, I really liked getting to know my coworkers and, learning the environment before I was like fully involved, with them. I liked learning the atmosphere. So I just liked getting to know everyone.
And having that mentor aspect kind of opened those doors really for you into that culture. That's something that isn't as talked about with apprenticeships. I think it probably should be, is the mentoring aspect isn't just how do you do the job? It's how do you work at this company, which can really vary depending on, even just Huron Regional Medical Center and Independent Health Systems, you guys are both in the healthcare industry in similar occupations. All of your employers is very different, still very positive, but different. Is kind of that culture piece what you would say is your favorite part too, Melissa, or what would you say is your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, like she said, being able to be paid, like not everybody can quit working to go to school. So that right there is, the best part for me. I have 3 kids, so it's kind of hard to quit working to go to school. You know what I mean? But if you want to keep, up with your education and do more, and then the mentoring and the apprenticeship, the hands-on stuff, like you said, it's not just what you're teaching, it's the whole business. So each person, it's a different, you know what I mean? You take a different approach. And that's fun. It's fun to be able to see how everybody learns differently. And you know what I mean? The hands-on part of it is the best part of it.
And the diversity of the people that can come into that occupation. It's not just the same person with the same personality. We all kind of look at nurses as those really caring and supportive individuals, but they're all very different. The people that choose that occupation are very different. And being in an apprenticeship, I think, really highlights that too, and highlights how you can be successful with that diversity. Now, Harrison, you're a bit of the odd man out as far as the occupations here. You're the only one in the trades here. What is your favorite part of your apprenticeship?
Getting to learn and mess around with new things and maybe see something I haven't yet. And one of the biggest aspects I like is meeting new people and getting to see, like you just said, diversity, and see kind of each and everyone's little aspect within that trade and see how they operate and work and still have a generic same outcome, but yet different methods, different ways, and still getting the job done. It's just always nice to see different sides, and just more or less, it's always nice to see new things and keep moving along.
Yeah, I think each of you have kind of touched on that a little bit about how there's no one way really to do a job. And, when you're learning in a classroom, you learn that one way to do something. But when you're on the job and you're seeing different individuals training or going through this occupation, you get to learn different ways to complete the same task. So you get to really make it your own, and you get to really come into the occupation and bring yourself into that occupation, which like Riley talked a little bit about, helps that confidence, which really strengthens the workforce that we have then, because if you love your job and you love what you do, you're going to stay there, right? You're going to continue to learn and advance yourself, and you're going to bring your best self to the table. So final question here, and this is like really, really big, important question here. What advice would you guys give to anybody that may want to go into apprenticeships or look at this as an option? Melissa, I'm going to start with you.
I would say go for it. I mean, you grow with the job, you know, so if you have the opportunity and you don't take advantage of it, that's silly because it's never ending. I mean, every year, like I said, we're doing another one. Every time we do it, we learn something different. You know what I mean? There's so many things out there that can help us that I don't think people know exist even.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up too, that even as a mentor, you're still learning. So that process never ends. Whether you're an apprentice, a mentor, you're the sponsor, or even us here at the apprenticeship office here at the state, we are always learning. And that's one of the best parts of apprenticeship in general, is that it really encourages that continued growth, regardless of what part of it you're in. Harrison, what advice would you have for anybody wanting to get into apprenticeships?
I would say more or less make sure you're more open-minded, be more comfortable with it. But once you want to pursue that, depending on the company and the trade you want to go with, there's so many opportunities and so many skills that you can acquire, and there's not just a set amount that you can go for, but there's just so many options nowadays, and you can specialize in something that you thought was not even something you could manage or do, but now it's something that they're more comfortable with, and something that you could make something your own, but not someone else that they could do some of your own specialty. That's one thing I'd say, and it's just something that really opens someone else's eyes, and they just kind of see it and they want to go for it.
Great point. Here in South Dakota, we are an extremely rural state, other than Sioux Falls typically. But more populated communities we don't necessarily have here in South Dakota as far as education or schooling. So apprenticeship really brings those opportunities to you. So thank you. Excellent point. Riley, what about you? Do you have any advice for somebody that's wanting to go into apprenticeship?
I'd say to do it. I mean, just because you learn so much and you learn how to be open-minded, and I mean, I got thrown in a lot of cases that probably wouldn't have seen other ways. So, I mean, it was a good experience and I highly recommend it.
Thank you, guys. I am going to grab Mason really quick here and see if we have any additional questions that maybe popped up while you guys were talking. Mason?
Yep, we do. So one from Tara. Harrison, what is the difference between HVAC and mechatronics?
So HVAC, you deal with your heating, your ventilation, your air conditioning, and your mechatronics, you're dealing with the electrical side and the mechanical components that operate all that. So HVAC, you deal with that in a general sense, but mechatronics, you dive deep into it, the wiring, all the specific actions of how everything works and operates.
Excellent question. Thank you for clarifying that, Harrison. So I actually have a follow-up question for you. You said that you had some HVAC experience and are winning awards for HVAC experience. Is that what made you want to choose mechatronics and that plumbing aspect?
Yep. Just wanted to get my hands more, get them more dirtier and kind of get a little more open, and kind of the whole future outcome, more pay, kind of make sure I have a little more on my plate and be able to have more of a resume to offer an employer, or have more so just to keep moving along. Basically, I always just like the aspect of doing that, just so I know more for myself, keep broad and just keep learning.
And I think each of you have kind of touched on this too, about how either you had an occupation before that you were doing, or you were doing schooling before. And that's definitely something that we like to talk to people about an apprenticeship program isn't necessarily a one and done. It can be a stepping stone or a stackable thing that you utilize to get to the next level, whether that's a promotion opportunity or whether that's more money, or whether you're just into learning and you're wanting to grow that way. Apprenticeship isn't something that you complete the program and you're done. Clearly, all of you have gone on to continue with different programs or different opportunities. So great point that is kind of a stepping stone into some of these other opportunities. Mason, did we have any other questions?
Yep, Laura Trapp would like to know, Melissa, how long did it take you for you to complete your apprenticeship?
Mine was supposed to be 2 years, I believe. But like you spoke about previously, I got credit for hours, previous time. So, and it was competency based. I don't think mine took quite the 2 years. I want to say it was about 18 months, probably.
Awesome.
Aubrey, that was kind of it. We had some program specific questions in the chat that Tara had already got to or replied to. So that was kind of it for the questions for the panelists anyway. I do have one for Riley though. Remember when we were up in Huron, we were meeting with all you guys, and one of your supervisors had told us you're at the point now where you can anticipate what a surgeon's going to ask for, and you kind of know what to be handing them before they even ask for it, because you've gotten to that point in your career now.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. We just did one today. I was like, oh, yep, I know he's going to ask for that. And I had it ready. And he just looks at me and he goes, thank you so much. And I was just like, no problem, so it's a good feeling when you can kind of anticipate. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good job. Thank you guys. I really appreciate all of you joining us today and sharing your experiences, sharing everything that you have gone through with your apprenticeship programs. Wish you all a happy National Apprenticeship Week and the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.